Hi, everyone. My name is Kristin Kirk. I attended Montessori preschool and stuff starting in 1999, and then I was there all throughout, pretty much up until middle school, so until 2007. So for about 8 years of my life. Actually, that would make it the longest schooling I'd ever done in one institution, not counting, or even including like grad school and undergrad, which were two separate places also. So I was with Montessori much longer than higher ed, which is wild to think about.
Wow,
Yeah.
I hadn't even considered that until you just said that.
Yeah.
So interesting. So where'd you go? What was your college?
Yeah, so
Like, where'd you go to school? And
yeah, so I did my undergrad at UC Davis, so just a few miles essentially away from Montessori. And then from there, so I got my bachelor's and a minor in education with bachelor's in music composition. And then I went on for my master's at SUNY Purchase for classical music composition. Yeah, so I did that for 2 years. And then I did one more year at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, doing technology and applied composition. Yeah, so that was to learn more about media, music, and how to use like a digital audio workstation and how to use synths and, you know, recording techniques, all that stuff.
People, I'm guessing, in your current social sphere went to Montessori.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So I don't know if this conversation ever comes up. Maybe it doesn't. But when you tell people about what it was like to go to Montessori school, what kinds of things do you talk about?
One of the big things is just how it's like you as the student in a way kind of get to determine how fast you're gonna go through things. I suppose it's a definitely better way of saying it, but like I remember that it was just, you know, as long as you have, you know, like an hour of math, an hour of working on your grammar, an hour of, you know, maybe world geography, and then, you know, just essentially just having a lot of time management kind of like pushed on us at such a young age. But like we, in a way, it was, we just got to determine what we worked on that day. And if we wanted to do math for an hour and a half, sometimes, you know, someone might. I know I wouldn't, but someone sure did.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And we just got to pick and choose what we wanted to learn outside of the core curriculum. Like I remember doing a lot of zoology stuff because I was really into that, and like, and then getting, you know, through zoology, you know, reading more on dinosaurs. And my favorite one was the Archaeopteryx, I remember. And I was like, oh, I want to be a paleontologist, which I think is a very common thing for young children. I don't know why. At least all my friends who have spoken to, that's always been a career path that we've thought of since a young age.
It's that and a veterinarian. Those are the two. Those are two big ones.
Yeah, so we just, I tell people like, I got to choose when I studied my math. If I did it in the morning or in the afternoon, it was pretty much up to me. And of course, you know, there were obviously times when, you know, our lovely teachers and stuff, such as yourself and Patty and Glenn and Sylvia, they'd be like, hey, like, you haven't touched, you know, this kind of stuff yet today. Maybe you should think about that, which is a gentle nudge of, come on now, you should get something done in, you know, in your literature today. But it never felt like, all right, you have to do this. It was just it was a strong suggestion, sure, but also it gave us, I don't know, more of a feeling of independence in our education, which is really nice. And
that's, you know, the question that people want to know the answer to is, for example, like, were you at a detriment because of that? Like, were you at a detriment because you hadn't gotten grades, or you didn't have homework, or, you know, you couldn't, you know, were you able to function in a more structured environment? Because I think sometimes people picture that, like, oh, you won't be able to transfer information or learning from one situation to another. So were there any times that you felt like you were at a detriment, or did you feel like that
definitely.
Or
I never felt it was a detriment whatsoever. Even, you know, now, if anything, it felt more like kind of like a lateral thinking type of thing of like, well, this is what I learned here in Montessori. You know, maybe we didn't have homework or anything, but just because one doesn't have homework doesn't mean you're not gonna like look up things, you know, if you can, or read other things, you know, after class, and, you know, discuss things with your friends, you know, maybe as you're playing baseball with them, or you know, playing video games or board games, or just having sleepovers and stuff. Like, you're still going to be talking about how cool the Archaeopteryx is, and things like that. And you're gonna look things up too. So it's like, well, in a way, it was kind of a weird way of like giving your own self homework, like self-assigned homework. But no, I still don't feel like it was a detriment not having any of that. It just felt, I don't know. It did feel different, but I think, again, we were told that like, hey, like after this, these are the changes that you will experience, in your, along education is just that they will most likely give you homework. There were still some teachers who continued not to give homework in middle school, but it's all dependent on the classroom that you end up being in and who your teacher is and stuff like that too. And letter grades and stuff. No, like it didn't bother me that I didn't have them. Again, like I said, I thought like, oh, maybe we should, because maybe it will feel more prepared. But in the end, I really don't feel it would be any more prepared than just being told, hey, you're doing great, an A is 100, 90 to 100, but whatever. I mean, I think one of the more basic skills that I think every profession typically does like value is just communication skills and interpersonal skills, right? So just being able to talk with someone and kind of figure out what it is that they want or that they need, and figure out if you're the person who can provide that, so it's kind of just like being a teacher. Well, not just like, but similar to being a teacher, you're listening to your students, right? And you're you're most likely tailoring an experience for them, especially if it's like a one-on-one individual lesson. In a similar vein, I do that with clients and stuff and people who I work with, of like, okay, what is it that they need? And those skills are things that I can confidently say I picked up in Montessori and got to hone them there. I mean, it taught more than math and literature and stuff like that. It was actually a lot of socializing and learning how to socialize, which I think is really important.